Russia is losing its influence in the South Caucasus and, oddly, is forcing Russians out of the area. Donald Trump, the United States and Armenia are launching the Trump Route project in the name of international peace and prosperity, which deprives Russia of its role as the main player in the South Caucasus. The new trade corridor, which has such a grand name, will connect Asia and Europe through Armenia and Azerbaijan without any involvement from Moscow. Moreover, Armenia stated that when planning this corridor, no one even thought about discussing it with the Russians. After all, Armenia decided to dissolve the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe Minsk group as well, which effectively ends the previous format of international mediation in this region involving Russia and France. This means Russia is finally losing all influence in this region. Moreover, Armenia and Azerbaijan have officially declared that the era of war is over, and both sides have joined Donald Trump's new peace council, thereby emphasizing their choice of a key partner. And all that Russia can do in this situation is to threaten Armenia with war through the words of propagandist Solovyov, so that the Kremlin can maintain its sphere of influence. Interestingly, Solovyov is in some ways right in his statements. Russia has completely lost its influence in this region, but the Kremlin woke up too late. My name is Alexei Pichi. Let's discuss this topic together, but before we start, I ask you to subscribe to this channel, like this episode, and please leave your comment under this video. This really helps a lot in promoting the content on YouTube, and I will be very grateful for it. In addition, subscribe to my Telegram channel Peachy News. The link is in the description of this video. There we publish breaking news as it comes in. So I'll start a little bit from afar just to make sure the whole context of what's happening is clear. Just a couple of weeks ago, Russian propagandist Vladimir Solovyov said on one of his broadcasts that Russia needs to think about its sphere of influence and the possibility of conducting new special military operations in Armenia and Central Asia. How did the Russian Federation describe its full-scale invasion of Ukraine? Solovyov expressed the opinion that Russia should follow the example of actions in Venezuela and the United States of America, which disregarded international law. Therefore, in Solovyov's opinion, Russia should also attack Armenia, just as Russia attacked Ukraine in order to maintain its sphere of influence there. And now I'll quote Solovyov, which is very important in the context of the further discussion. So, Solovyov states, and I quote, "What is happening in Armenia hurts us much more than what is happening in Venezuela. The history of Armenia is a huge problem. The problems in our Asia, in our Central Asia, this could be a huge problem for us." Sorry, let me digress. Why on earth does Solovyov call Asia ours? What are you even talking about? But I'll continue the quote. Solovyov says, "We must clearly define our goals and objectives, disregarding international law and order. If, for our national security, it was necessary to start the special military operation in Ukraine, then why, based on the same considerations, can't we start a special military operation in other areas of our sphere of influence as well?" And so, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Armenia responded to such a statement by handing the Russian ambassador a note of protest, which, quote, expresses deep indignation at the statements made on the air of a state television channel program. But why is Solovyov making such a fuss about Russia having lost influence in Armenia and in Central Asia in general? And here Solovyov is right. He really is right. Russia has lost Armenia, and for the unwashed, this is truly a huge problem. What's really happening? Let's find out. The thing is, Armenia and the United States are finally launching a large-scale project called the Trump Route for the sake of international peace and prosperity. It's also called TRIP for short, and it's becoming a new geopolitical factor in this region. It provides special rights to the United States for the development of a transit corridor. A joint Armenian-American management company will control the project for the next 49 years. And importantly, this project finally deprives Russia of its position as the main player in the South Caucasus. But what is this project? Let's go back in time a little bit again so we can understand what happened in August of last year. If I'm not mistaken, it was August 8. The president of Azerbaijan, Ilham Aliyev, and the prime minister of Armenia, Nikol Pashinyan, signed a peace agreement in Washington. And this agreement didn't just put an end to the war between Armenia and Azerbaijan, but it also grants the United States exclusive rights to develop a strategic transit corridor through the South Caucasus. The point is that the United States of America and Armenia are creating a transport corridor through Armenia, which is supposed to connect the Azerbaijani enclave of Nakhichevan with the rest of Azerbaijan. If you look at the map, you'll see that basically Azerbaijan has its own sort of enclave that's cut off by Armenian territory, and Armenia has agreed to grant the United States of America exclusive special rights to develop this corridor. According to the plan, the route itself will be operated in accordance with Armenian law, and the United States will transfer the land in Subarmia and the lease to a consortium for construction, infrastructure, and management. And here it can be understood that within the framework of this project, it is planned to lay oil and gas pipelines, fiber optic networks, as well as to create railway and road infrastructure along the railway line bordering Iran. This delivers another blow to the axis of evil Russia and Iran, because today the most important trade corridor in this region bypasses Armenia through the territory of Iran, and Tehran has repeatedly manipulated this. If you look at the map again, you can clearly see that such a hook goes through Iran. Europe, Turkey, and others have long disliked this. And so, the corridor, according to the logic of the beneficiaries, will form an important link in the Trans-Caspian route, which passes through China, Kazakhstan, the Caspian Sea, then Azerbaijan, Georgia, and further into Turkey and European countries. That is, neither Russia nor Iran are involved in this arrangement at all. And, by the way, the Ayatollah regime in Iran has even threatened to start a war in the region just to prevent the implementation of this project in Armenia. According to Armenian Foreign Minister Ararat Mirzoyan, Russia's participation in this project was never discussed by the American and Armenian sides. That is, even at the negotiation stage, no one even allowed the possibility that the Russians would touch the construction of this project with their dirty hands. And here, Armenia has gained influence and can even dictate terms to the Kremlin. Who would have thought? The Prime Minister of Armenia, Nikol Pashinyan, addressed Russia's main carrier, Russian Railways, which is currently the concessionaire of the Armenian Railway, in an almost ultimatum-like manner, demanding that they quickly restore the destroyed tracks up to the borders of Azerbaijan and Turkey. Otherwise, as Pashinyan notes, it will cost Armenia and further question Russia's role in the region. And importantly, Armenia is now setting such conditions for the Russians that this Russian railways simply won't be able to actually repair these tracks, and therefore there will be a reason to just kick the Russians out, saying, listen, you're not doing anything here, goodbye, go run your trains in Moscow. We have a completely different story here, but that's not all. The agreement between the United States, Armenia, and Azerbaijan provides for the final dissolution of the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe Minsk Group, which effectively ends the previous format of international mediation involving Russia and France. And funnily enough, when the Kremlin started to realize that they were not in a position to threaten Armenia, well, because now the United States of America is backing Armenia. The press alcoholic of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Russian Federation, Mashka Zakharova, suddenly came out officially and publicly stated that, quote, the statement of television host Vladimir Solovyov regarding foreign policy is just a personal opinion and not the official position of Russia. She clarified that she had reviewed Solovyov's statements and noted that he expressed his opinion in the form of a question, like, don't get the wrong idea, end quote from Mashka Zakharova. There was no statement there, it was more like a question, I don't know, maybe rhetorical or something else. These phrases were clearly, absolutely obviously, presented in a provocative way by armchair analysts and almost as if they were the official position of Russia. It's unacceptable to engage in such manipulations. And what is Mashka Zakharova? Excuse me, did you get scared? You used to threaten everyone, martial law in Armenia, Georgia, Ukraine, everywhere. Are you making excuses now? Did something actually happen? Well, the South Caucasus, I think we can congratulate them. Finally, they're getting out from under the influence of the unwashed Russians. They don't respect anyone at all. They don't even respect themselves. They don't know what respect is. So, really, the South Caucasus can truly be congratulated. I'll leave it at that, friends. If you found this episode interesting and useful, you can support our work with your donation or subscription through the links and details provided. In the description of this video, it says, support the channel. Choose any format that's convenient for you. I appreciate any support. That's all for now. Take care. Goodbye, everyone.